Tonight, out with the old and in with the new. Veteran Labor ministers quit cabinet to make way for fresh faces. Hello, I'm Jessica Harmsen. This is ABC News South Australia. Also tonight, Donald Trump postpones strikes on energy sites as Iran accuses the US of spreading fake news on peace talks. Petrol pumps start running dry across the country as costs are driven up. Australia and the European Union strike a free trade deal. And the soft tissue injuries claiming some of the AFL's most valuable players. Two veteran Labor frontbenchers have stepped down from state cabinet to make way for three new ministers, including one who's only just been elected. As Labor shapes its new leadership team, it's won another seat in Light, while the Liberals have lost the seat of Finnis to an independent, adding to the party's crushing election defeat. Liberal leader Ashton Hearn says nothing will be off the table in a newly announced review over the bruising result.
Fresh recruits, returning veterans and even some yet-to-be-elected MPs gathering to elevate Labor's new cabinet.
We see a big opportunity before us at the moment, and I think the electorate has said just get on with it.
Veteran frontbencher and former Tourism Minister Zoe Bettison and ex-Human Services Minister Nat Cook have stepped down from Cabinet, making way for first-term MP Alice Rolls, as well as returning members Michael Brown and Nadia Clancy. Their portfolios are yet to be announced. For a bruised Liberal Party, it's time for reflection. With just a handful of MPs to now lead, Ashton Hearn says she'll take on board the message from voters.
Everything will be reviewed as part of the election review, of course. Nothing will be off the cards.
Including her party's decision to preference One Nation, a move that wasn't reciprocated.
The reality is that One Nation had a massive surge. We can't ignore that.
Labor's majority in the lower house has now increased to 33 seats, the party retaining the Northern Adelaide electorate of Light, while independent Lou Nicholson has gained the formerly Liberal-held seat of Finnis on the Fleurieu Peninsula. But there are still 6 seats in doubt. The Liberals have edged ever so slightly ahead in the southern metro seat of Morphett, and the party's deputy leader Josh Teague is only just hanging on to his Adelaide Hills electorate of Harmsen. One Nation's either ahead or likely to win the regional seats of Hammond, McKillop and Narungga, having already claimed Nudgee in the state's mid-north.
Voters in that electorate welcoming the election of David Payton.
I'm hoping he's going to provide some leadership under the auspices of Pauline Hanson.
I've been a Pauline Hanson supporter for years and years. She's tough, and that's what we need.
It was more of a protest vote that I voted One Nation.
The vote count will continue on Wednesday as Labor's new cabinet gets sworn in at Government House. Stephanie Richards, ABC News.
In the Adelaide metropolitan area, the Liberal Party's only guaranteed of holding one seat after Saturday's electoral wipeout. Voters have told the ABC constant leadership changes and an inability to offer a viable alternative led them to look elsewhere.
A sign of the times, the once dependable Liberal seat of Unley in Labor hands for the first time in 3 decades.
At the moment, there's not much else to vote for. I don't think the federal Liberals or the state Liberals are offering too much.
I used to lean more towards the Liberal Party because they were pro-business.
Disaffected former Liberal voters like Tony Monteleone have deserted the party.
Well, this is mine.
Only one of 4 city seats to be lost to Labor, the party's primary vote dropping to under 20%.
I'm happy that the Labor Party won this election because I think that Peter Malinauskas has done a great job in the last 4 years.
Even some who supported the Liberals on Saturday are demanding the party reform itself.
They're fighting themselves. When they stop, they'll get somewhere.
We've got to be better, and there's a lot of lessons to take away from it.
One of the highest profile Liberal casualties is the former Speaker, one-time government minister and the man who was opposition leader just 4 months ago, Vincent Tarzia. He'd held the marginal seat of Hartley for 12 years but couldn't hold off Labor this time.
No, it's quite surprising to see Vincent to go, see who's going to replace him.
Jen Roberts has become the new member for Hartley with an 8% two-party swing. Labor's primary vote holding strong as the Liberal vote leaked to One Nation.
Everyone's struggling to keep their heads above water, so it's not good.
Labor's future challenge addressing voter frustrations and avoiding the electoral drift that's impacted the Liberal Party. James Wakeland, ABC News.
Turning overseas, and US President Donald Trump has talked up the prospect of peace and oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz after declaring Iran was willing to engage in talks to end the war. After giving Tehran an ultimatum on oil, President Trump backed down at the 11th hour, claiming very good and productive conversations were taking place. Markets rallied on the news and the price of oil dipped, despite Iran denying talks were taking place at all. We'll have the latest on what our government is doing to shore up fuel supply shortly, but we start our coverage tonight with Catherine Diss in the Middle East.
An unbelievable rescue. Red Crescent workers find a man completely buried in the rubble of a building in Tehran. Somehow, he's still alive. But the human toll of US-Israeli airstrikes is becoming starker on the ground.
We are looking for him, and we don't know if he's alive or not. Maybe he's dead, or I don't know where he is.
Oh, that came out good.
Taking a short detour from the war, Donald Trump visited Elvis Presley's Graceland.
You never know, these are hard to sign.
He earlier claimed he'd been in touch with someone senior in the Iranian regime for talks and announced a 5-day reprieve for Tehran to completely reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face attacks on its power plants.
They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too. We're going to get together today. If it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
We, the UK, were aware that was happening, and the immediate priority has to be a swift resolution of the conflict.
But the Speaker of Iran's parliament immediately denied the talks. No negotiations have been held with the US, he says, accusing Trump of trying to manipulate the financial and oil markets and escape the quagmire in which the US and Israel are trapped. Traders who coined the term taco, Trump always chickens out, seeming to welcome news of the president's backdown. While the US talks, Israel fights on.
President Trump believes there is a chance to leverage the significant achievements of the IDF and the US military. At the same time, we continue to strike both in Iran and in Lebanon.
But those living this war are losing patience with Mr. Trump's negotiation tactics.
If we trust him, we lose. He has shown what his brotherhood means. He burned everything, the good and the bad, together.
I doubt there will be any real negotiations between these governments. As for what comes next, I do not know.
While leaders talk, citizens are paying the price.
And Catherine Diss joins us now from Jerusalem. Catherine, President Trump's claims of productive talks to end the war have been denied by Tehran. What signs are there that talks could be on the way?
Good evening, Jess. Well, look, the US president's claim of a deal seems like a stretch. These talks are very much in their early stages. There's also jostling over who will run them, with Pakistan, interestingly, emerging as a key front-runner alongside Egypt and Turkey. I think that Donald Trump played a game of chicken. When Iran didn't back down, he blinked first. He also must consider his partner in this war, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has vowed not to stop fighting until the regime in Iran is toppled or at least significantly reduced or weakened, rather. So this could be a political play by the US president, but reading between the lines, this very much looks like a win for Tehran.
Catherine, thank you. Catherine Diss reporting there. Back home now, Australia's Energy Minister says at least 500 petrol stations are tonight without fuel, announcing new measures to get more diesel to pumps across the nation. The supply squeeze is driving up costs across the economy, hitting farmers, truck drivers and now Australia Post, with price hikes coming for mail and parcels.
Counting his costs in kilometres. Frank Black's last journey from Brisbane to Sydney emptied more than his fuel tank.
If your fuel has gone up $1 a litre, you're $500 worse off.
And that's one day's work, forcing truckies to rethink which contracts they accept.
I can't drive up and down the road losing money.
The fuel prices are just crippling. It's just unbelievable. Sorry, I might get a little emotional.
Those costs rippling through the economy. Supermarkets, airlines and delivery companies hiking their fees. Australia Post, the latest, doubling shipping charges.
We know that increased petrol prices put pressure on Australians.
The sudden spike in prices leading to localised shortages. And across the country, hundreds of service stations are running dry. 215 in New South Wales without either unleaded or diesel. 185 in Victoria, 80 in Queensland, around 50 in South Australia and a handful elsewhere.
The Minister for Energy's made it clear that she's prepared to take extraordinary measures if she sees a deliberate manipulation of the marketplace.
Dialing up the pressure, the federal opposition's set up a new website for drivers to report where fuel shortages are.
We have launched this in an effort to help us, Chris Bowen, help you.
The nation's fuel coordinator, Anthea Harris, to hold her first meeting with states tomorrow as the Energy Minister intervenes again, this time adjusting diesel standards to boost supplies.
Because we continue to see shortages in diesel, despite the fact our national stocks are strong.
While the government's focus is on supply, leaders have started openly canvassing the possibility of measures to manage demand. Rationing is still a more distant prospect, but the states and territories have agreed to move together if it gets to that point. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
Petrol prices have reached a record high, approaching an average of $2.50 a litre tonight. And there could be more pain to come if the source of most of Australia's fuel diverts deliveries for local use. Here's business reporter Daniel Ziffer.
We've got enough fuel for now, but there are big questions about our fuel security in the coming months. Australia imports 90% of the fuel we use. Most of it comes from Asia, with South Korea, Singapore and India our biggest suppliers of refined fuels, including petrol, diesel and jet fuel. While most of the crude oil that's still refined in Australia comes from Malaysia and Brunei. But those countries have their own demands.
The entire global economy has been taken hostage, and we will all pay a price for the hostilities.
China and South Korea have already started curbing the export of refined fuel products to keep more of it for their own citizens. Malaysia says it might as well.
When a government sees a threat to the availability of domestic supplies, it's not surprising to see these constraints implemented.
Energy Minister Chris Bowen has said only 6 fuel shipments to Australia, due after mid-April, have been cancelled or deferred. That's out of an average of 81 per month. But the conflict has taken out about 1 in 5 barrels of oil from global supply. And the longer that continues, the more expensive things get. Australia can afford to compete by paying higher prices. Poorer countries have fewer choices.
Australia has a really strong track record around that, delivering into contracts, and I think that holds our stance within the global energy markets in a fairly high level.
Another point of leverage is liquefied natural gas. We produce far more than we use. We're among the largest exporters in the world. Some of the countries that send us fuel need our LNG, so there could be some hard bargains to be driven.
Australia has signed a new free trade pact with Europe after 8 long years of negotiations. But the deal has upset farmers, furious they haven't secured better access for agricultural exports. Here's Foreign Affairs reporter Stephen Jedgetts.
A new deal in a world transformed. The European Union chief landing in Canberra to deliver a grim message.
The world we live in is brutal, harsh and unforgiving. It feels upside down.
Faced with war in Ukraine and the Middle East and grappling with Donald Trump, Europe wants more partners, even in far-away Australia. The two sides finally landing a long-awaited trade pact after almost a decade of negotiations.
Countries are longing for stability and predictability, and this is what the European Union is offering.
This agreement sends a message as well to the world that it is possible to stick to the rules.
The deal will allow Australian farmers to largely keep using labels claimed by European producers like Prosecco and Feta. Luxury European EVs will also be cheaper. The pact opening up new export opportunities and cutting the price of imports.
This agreement is worth $10 billion to the Australian economy on an annual basis.
But some economists question that figure, while farmers are furious the government's given way without securing new concessions to get more Australian beef and lamb into Europe.
It really is a very minor number, which is frustrating.
This deal must go down as the worst trade deal ever.
It's not just trade. Australia's also preparing to join a massive European research and development fund, while Canberra and Brussels have struck a new security partnership which will likely foster more industrial collaboration in defence projects. With the world in flux, both sides increasingly see the relationship not just as a luxury, but as a necessity. Stephen Jedgetts, ABC News, Canberra.
2 people have been flown to hospital after a horror crash between a car and a truck in the Adelaide Hills. Police and emergency services were called to the intersection of Martin Hill and Lucky Hit Roads near Birdwood about 1:30 this afternoon. 2 passengers in the car had to be cut from the wreckage before being transferred to the Royal Adelaide Hospital with critical injuries. Victorian public school teachers have gone on strike for the first time in more than a decade after months of failed pay negotiations with the state government. Up to 35,000 educators marched through Melbourne towards state parliament a week after the Australian Education Union rejected a 17% pay deal. Union members claim Victorian teachers are paid less than those in other states and have called for a 35% raise over 4 years. Organisers say hundreds of schools were impacted by today's industrial action and have threatened to take to the streets again if the government doesn't revisit its offer.
They do need to put a real deal on the table that meets our needs, that respects us and absolutely respects the students that we educate.
This is a very strong offer. We did everything we can to avoid today. We did everything we can to get the offer on the table as soon as possible.
Businesses that rely on Tasmania's Liberty Bell Bay smelter, owned by Sanjeev Gupta's GFG Alliance, hope a new owner can be found quickly. It continues a period of turmoil for the company, which last year saw the South Australian government force the Whyalla Steelworks into administration over a failure to pay its bills. The Tasmanian manganese smelter was put into administration yesterday with the future of more than 200 direct jobs and a large local supply chain at stake.
Damien Eade runs a cafe in Georgetown and says the ongoing uncertainty surrounding Liberty Bell Bay has taken a toll on the local community.
It's been a scary process for the last few months. The lack of knowledge or where it's going.
But Monday's announcement that the manganese smelter has been placed in voluntary administration has delivered new hope.
At least this gives a bit more clarity going forward and hopefully a positive outcome comes from all this.
The business is now in the hands of Administrator Ernst & Young, which is trying to find a new buyer to resume operations at the facility. The local mayor says more than 200 jobs are at stake.
For our community and for the economy of the North, having that facility remain operable, I think, is very much in our interests.
The smelter has been in care and maintenance mode since May last year, despite a $20 million loan from the state government for a shipment of ore that was never used. The industry minister is confident Tasmanian taxpayers won't have to bear the cost.
We can either, of course, sell the ore for roughly about the value of which it was purchased, being a tradable commodity on the open market. But we also retain the option of being able to sell it to new owners who might be interested in a quick restart.
Liberty Bell Bay is Australia's only manganese smelter. Its product is essential for steelmaking. Stakeholders say it's in the national interest for the facility to resume full production.
Really, really important that both the federal and state governments do everything they can to make sure that we keep this sovereign capability in Tasmania.
A community hoping for a more certain future. Kelsey Reid, ABC News, Bell Bay.
A woman who vandalised a Mount Gambier sculpture with googly eyes last September has been sentenced to 60 hours of community service. Amelia Vanderhorst was convicted of a graffiti charge for damaging the cast in blue sculpture, also known as the Blue Blob. Her lawyer told the Mount Gambier Magistrates Court the 20-year-old had taken drugs and drank about 3 litres of vodka on the night. The council spent $3,000 repairing the sculpture. The court has also ordered Vanderhorst to pay $2,000 in compensation to the council. Now for the day's financial news, here's Alan Kohler.
You know, President Trump posted at 7:23 a.m. Washington time that they've had very good and productive talks with Iran, and that a few hours later Iran said that's not true. The US share market jumped when Trump did that post and then fell a third of the way back when Iran rubbished it. And likewise, the oil price fell sharply and only went up part of the way again. So what that tells you, I think, is that the markets really want it to be over, which is no surprise, and are prepared to grasp at any straw and hang on to it. A couple of other straws in the wind today, as it were. First, investment bank Goldman Sachs put out a new oil price forecast based on traffic through the Straits of Hormuz staying at 5% of normal levels for 6 weeks, followed by a 1-month recovery. The result is on this graph. It peaks at $115 a barrel. But if it stays at 5% for 10 weeks, the peak is $147. Second, one of the world's most highly regarded investment strategists, Marco Papic of BCA Research, said if this doesn't get resolved over the next 7 to 10 days, we're looking at a pandemic-style shutdown of the global economy, which perhaps explains why markets are in the Egyptian river, denial. That's not something anyone wants to think about. The local market demonstrated that by rising 0.5%, with mining stocks leading the way. The oil price ended up around 4% higher, while gold and silver kept falling. The US and Asian markets stayed up, and the Aussie dollar stayed under 70 US cents. And finally, Macquarie Research produced a report today about the impact of AI on bank employment, looking at how good it'll be for cost-cutting and higher profits. The most likely base case, according to Macquarie, is 18% reduction in jobs, gradual adoption 9% and rapid adoption 30%. Now, there are 185,000 people employed by the banks. 18% of them is 33,000 and 30% is 56,000 people. But of course, Macquarie could be wrong. And that's finance.
You're watching ABC News South Australia. Coming up on 7:30 with Sarah Ferguson, the computer program deciding the fate of elderly Australians.
Mum does need supervision pretty much constantly. It just astounds me that somebody can then be found to have no impairment.
My concern is really because there can be no human oversight of the outcome.
It's the same thing as what was happening with RoboDebt.
On to sport now, and power defender Alir says injuries are just a part of playing AFL, and he isn't overly concerned about a spate of players going down with soft tissue problems. 8 players suffered the dreaded hammy injury in round 2, including Port Adelaide captain Connor Rozee.
Rozee was the worst of the AFL players to go down, destined to spend at least 3 months out with a hamstring tendon rupture. Plenty of others joined him on the sidelines, including the Crows' Callum Archie, Bulldog Tom Liberatore and Eagles rookie Milan Murdoch. Some are now questioning whether rule changes designed to speed up the game are in fact causing more soft tissue injuries.
We train well, we train for this, and some may say it's too fast, some may think it's too slow, but us as players, it's our job to get fit and play, and then if you get injured, it's all part of it.
With Miles Bergman also injured, the Power will look to the likes of Lockie Jones and the forgotten but now suspension-free Ollie Wines for a Sunday Eagles clash at the Adelaide Oval.
Good to be able to have options, guys like a Brownlow medalist ready to come back, and there's a few other guys that are playing well too.
The Power blew the hapless Bombers apart on Sunday, prompting a leadership group crisis meeting in the change rooms.
We just thought, get together, get our feelings spoken about, and again, us leaders, we spoke about, okay, this is on us. The basic fundamentals of football, handballs, kicks, pressure, that wasn't there on the day.
Brisbane's back from its bye and facing the prospect of a spicy Saints matchup after the club swapped barbs in the summer over recruiting. But the back-to-back Premiership Lions players just want to get a win after successive losses to open the season.
You don't want to be in this position, but yeah, it's not panic stations as of yet, I wouldn't have thought.
Brisbane will welcome back Zach Bailey and Darcy Gardner from suspension. Matthew Smith, ABC News.
A boost for South Australia on the eve of the Sheffield Shield final against Victoria, with all-rounder Liam Scott named Player of the Year. One player he'll lock horns with from Thursday is Test bowler Scott Boland, returning to play for his state and preparing to mark a special milestone.
A famous line that's finally taken shape. Well, sort of. Bronze or cardboard, it's this exact pose he's hoping to strike when the Sheffield Shield final gets underway this week.
I reckon I do that a lot of times when I get a wicket.
The state's all-time leading wicket taker will play his 100th Sheffield Shield match.
It's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't think maybe 12, 13 years ago when I first debuted for Victoria they would have played this many games.
After a strong season, Victoria will host the decider at the Junction Oval, going in as favourites, while South Australia is hoping to win back-to-back titles for the first time.
I think we've been the best team in the comp. I think we've got match winners in every facet of the game, so I think we can go in pretty confident.
The biggest dilemma for Victoria is selection. With fast bowler Fergus O'Neill returning, it's a line ball between seamers Sam Elliott and Mitch Perry, who are both in impressive form.
I am happy I'm not picking the team.
Regardless, the experienced Boland will continue to serve as a mentor.
So from the first half of my career, I was sort of the younger guy in an older team, and now it's switched on the old guy in the young team.
The other factor could be weather, with rain forecast for the opening 2 days of the final. James Oaten, ABC News, Melbourne.
Let's take a look at South Australia's weather now, and thanks to Ben Searcy for tonight's photo taken of a bat sweltering in the heat. It was mostly sunny in Adelaide today. In the city, we reached a top of 33.4 degrees about 4:15 this afternoon after a low of 19.6. Further afield, it was mainly fine in the state's north, but there were a few spots of rain in the south, with Padthaway recording 6 millimetres. It reached 34 degrees in Renmark. Onto the charts, and cloud brings showers and storms over southern WA, Tassie and the country's southeast. Cloud around ex-tropical cyclone Narelle in WA's north is continuing to generate wet and stormy weather there. A front will bring wet weather to WA's south, Tasmania and Victoria, while gusty showers will ease along the east coast. Looking around the country tomorrow, 33 degrees in Alice Springs, 30 for Brisbane, sunny and 28 in Sydney and 27 degrees for Melbourne. Back home, there'll be possible showers in the northwest pastoral district, with possibly severe thunderstorms about the northern agricultural area, a top of 35 degrees for Roxby Downs. Looking further south, it'll be wet and stormy about the agricultural area and parts of the pastoral districts, a top of 29 degrees for Maitland and Lameroo. A flood warning continues for our inland rivers, especially the Warburton River and Lower Cooper Creek around Inaminka. And for Adelaide tomorrow, a possible shower or two with a top of 27 degrees in the city, dropping down to 20 degrees overnight. On the waters, variable winds about 10 knots, becoming southwesterly to 20 knots, then tending southerly in the evening, with seas increasing to 1.5 metres. The sun will rise about 7:20 and set 12 hours later. And looking a bit further ahead to that 7-day forecast, a possible shower with 21 Thursday, 20 Friday, mostly sunny and 25 on Sunday, and then sunny with a top of 29 for this time next week. And that's the latest from the Adelaide newsroom. Thanks for your company. I'm Jessica Harmsen. Stay with us. 7:30's next.